If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below. And before we start this video, I'd just like to thank Star Wars Story for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to request a video, head on over to patreon.com/thebirdman to find out how.
Much to learn, you still have.
Are you still excited by this? Because that means you didn't see the last movie.
But that logic doesn't really follow, does it? I mean, this movie isn't very good, but the next movie is one of the best in the franchise. I guess my point is that just because a movie is considered bad doesn't mean the next one will be. Besides, it's Star Wars. No matter what the haters say, we're always going to be excited for a new one.
Opening text scroll continues to bore and delight everyone.
Okay, that was a non-sin. You essentially said, here's a thing some people like, and a thing some people do not like. Cool story, bro, but why the f is that a sin? Aren't you siding with only one side of this topic, one that you acknowledge isn't sinful for a lot of people? What are you, Republican?
The third paragraph of this scroll is about the exciting action of voting.
Yeah, we get it. You don't care about the story in this movie. Thing is, some people do. This vote is important to the story the movie is trying to tell, because without that vote, you don't get the clones. And without the clones, you don't get the Clone Wars. That's a double entendre in case you missed it.
I failed you, Senator.
Well, you blew up instead of her, so I'd say that's pretty successful.
Yeah, but they're referring to themselves dying before they could escort her to the vote. Is this what CinemaSins is supposed to be? Purposefully or accidentally misunderstanding what a movie is trying to say? I gotta say, only one of those is actually funny, and you're not doing the funny one.
Senator Amidala, please.
How does one go from queen to senator? Do you have to renounce your bloodline's claim to the throne? Is senator actually a higher office than queen to this society? I'm so confused.
Put it this way, you're watching a movie about aliens with alien technology and customs. Our concepts of queens and senators don't exactly apply. To answer the question though, Amidala was voted in as Queen of Naboo, a single planet. Because that was an elected position, she fulfilled her term limit. Here, she is a senator in the Galactic Republic, an overarching form of government that presides over the entire galaxy. These are two separate things.
We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
Did the Jedi luck out with sporadic uprisings until this moment in time? How do they keep the peace with so few of them if there aren't enough to go to war? That's like having a National Guard based in Nebraska with 15 people in it who can go to Florida if need be, but are powerless if anything happens later in Texas.
No, that's not at all what that's like. The Jedi are more akin to police officers. They have some jurisdiction, but if there is a war, the army would be the one to fight it.
The dark side clouds everything.
Let's just go ahead and say it, Yoda is useless as a prophet.
I don't know. He called Anakin being a dickhead and Leia as being the other that would help destroy the Sith. Palpatine being just as powerful as Yoda, if not more so, isn't something wrong with this movie. It actually enhances it. Oh, I just realized. You don't realize that's what's going on here.
Also, how does Palpatine have such amazing control of the dark side of the Force that none of these Jedi can sense it 3 feet away?
Exactly my point from the previous sin. If Yoda is more or less equal in power to Palpatine, and Yoda is considered the most powerful Jedi Force user, do I even need to finish this sentence?
Impossible to see. The future is.
And yet future prophecy bullshit will drive everything we do from here on.
This is what happens when you cut a movie up and remove quotes from their context. Yoda is saying that because the dark side is clouding their vision, they cannot currently see the future. This is blatant scene manipulation.
Count Dooku was once a Jedi. He couldn't assassinate anyone. It's not in his character.
Did these assholes never once run into a Jedi who went to the dark side? Why does everyone fret about training someone like Anakin if that's the case? Sure, Darth Maul said something about revealing ourselves to the Jedi, but I thought he was implying they'd been gone a long time, not that they never existed.
If we're speaking just canon, yeah, Dooku is the first Jedi turned Sith that the Council becomes aware of. Even if he weren't, the point is that the Jedi are too rigid and inflexible in their beliefs. This is something that leads to their eventual downfall. The reason they're wary of Anakin is because they have already sensed darkness inside him. You don't just sell Elliot Rodger a gun after watching his YouTube videos.
Annie? My goodness, you've grown.
But you haven't. Hell, you guys are the same age now.
I see we've reached the actors can't play other ages portion of the CinemaSins video.
Annie, you'll always be that little boy I knew on Tatooine.
So let's have kids together.
Padme is only 5 years older than Anakin. She was 15 in the previous movie and 25 here. I don't know which galaxy you're living in, but a 20-year-old having kids with a 25-year-old ain't a big deal in the Milky Way.
I hit the ship, but they used a decoy.
We'll have to try something more subtle this time, Sam.
Why?
Because they attempted to assassinate Padme when she was on her way to Coruscant, and even then, they were wily enough to use a decoy. This means they're now aware of the threat on her life, and the only feasible way of killing her is something they wouldn't see coming.
She covered the cameras. I don't think she liked me watching her.
Yeah, would anybody? Especially someone who basically led dick first during the introductions a minute ago?
This isn't a question the movie is answering. Padme just survived an attempt on her life, and Anakin and Obi-Wan have been assigned to protect her. The cameras are there so they can do their job.
You're using her as bait.
Why not use another decoy? Why not dress and drag in her bedroom while she sleeps on a nondescript floor of this building?
Because this was Padme's idea. Besides, the movie itself states this plan was too risky. You're sending the film for something it already knows and blatantly acknowledges.
Just being around her again is intoxicating.
Good God, man. Anakin is already out of control. The guy needs to bang a hooker fast.
Jeremy thinks a hooker is a suitable replacement for one's soulmate. Something tells me CinemaSins wasn't the first choice.
You've made a commitment to the Jedi Order, a commitment not easily broken.
And which doesn't allow for the power of boners.
And Jeremy says boner.
If they know the exact floor and exact room Padme is sleeping in, why didn't they just program this thing to fire missiles into the room? Yeah, the assassins felt like they needed to be more subtle, but do you think people wouldn't be able to figure out this was foul play?
Of course people would assume foul play. That's not the point. Going in loud would immediately raise the alarm, not allowing for a clean getaway. If Padme dies in her sleep, it may not be discovered for hours.
The Chancellor doesn't appear to be corrupt.
I agree with the laugh, but still, the laugh.
Now here's something extremely weird. Obi-Wan jumps and crashes through the window like a dick, through blinds and what is probably some tough-ass glass, even if it has a small hole in it. It's amazing it doesn't fall to his death right here. This is something unbecoming of his character, and something Anakin might more likely do since he's a hormone-based horn dog of a Jedi right now.
I disagree. Not only has Obi-Wan demonstrated that he's a pretty good athlete, he's been shown throughout the series as a calculated risk-taker. This scene is supposed to demonstrate that Obi-Wan planned to do exactly what is shown and allowed the Force to guide his actions.
You'd also think a subtle device like this might have a self-destruct button in order to evade evidence and capture, but
I, again, agree that this probe should probably have this feature, but what about a self-destruct button is subtle again? In order to hide evidence, it would have to explode, right? Isn't that the same issue with the missiles?
Whoa, wait, what's that? Is that my falling master in the middle of all this craziness? Ex Machina to the rescue!
Two sins here. One for, yet again, misusing the phrase Deus Ex Machina. A character being saved is not a Deus Ex Machina. A Deus Ex Machina is when a conflict in a story is abruptly resolved with an unseen solution. The second sin ties into the first. The movie literally shows Anakin going for the vehicle. This means the solution to this problem was presented within the film and does not come from nowhere. You manipulated this scene.
Geez, how do they survive this? The answer is just because.
So, CinemaSins watched this scene and decided this wasn't the movie stating being shocked by power couplings isn't fatal. I wonder, if not the movie, where else are they getting that this should be fatal? Because this obvious fantasy film just said it isn't.
Here's the problem. If you're going to explain he survives these things and somehow knows where Zam's ship is just because of the Force, you're going to have to do a better job of relaying that message. This is some serious bullshit right here.
Although I could essentially repeat myself from the last sin to answer this question, this is precisely why I said what I said. CinemaSins literally asks for the movie to show them something, yet when that happens, they simply say it's bullshit and sin it anyway. There is no way for the movies to win. CinemaSins is Saw 3.
Also, I thought Anakin wanted to see where the ship went, where the assassin went, and who she's working for. Instead, he just went right back to let's kill this asshole and doesn't seem the least bit concerned about the other knowledge.
Yet another scene manipulation. The reason the speeder is on fire is because she attempted to shoot Anakin with a blaster, but he grabbed her hand before she could shoot him, which caused her to inadvertently shoot a panel. Anakin has not once tried killing this person.
You want to go home and rethink your life?
I want to go home and rethink my life.
This is the only time Jedi mind tricks ever work. Once with a stormtrooper in the first movie, and with this drug dealer in the fifth movie.
First of all, you're wrong. Luke successfully used it against Bib Fortuna in Episode 6. Even if you weren't, the films told you the limitation in the first movie. It only works on the weak-minded. The irony here is that you made this video days before it was used again in The Force Awakens. This is why it doesn't pay to trend surf. The movie you're trying to capitalize on might make you look stupid.
It was a bounty hunter called...
There's no chance in hell Django knew where anyone was and what time they'd be here. Just go right to hell with that.
Again, you are contradicting actual, tangible evidence. The movie is explicitly showing you that Django was aware of this, and you're sitting here saying, this thing that I am seeing doesn't exist. This is flat earther logic.
What about Senator Amidala? She will still need protecting.
Handle that. Your Padawan will.
I sensed he cared deeply about his mother and didn't want to train him because of that earlier. But now I can't sense this horny teenager's desire and will make him the primary guard for Amidala.
Yep, still missing basic plot points, I see. Obi-Wan and Anakin were already assigned to her detail, mainly because of Palpatine's manipulation. Since Obi-Wan is now being tasked with tracking down Jango Fett, this leaves Anakin to do exactly what he was already doing. As for why they cannot see his feelings for Padme, Yoda mentioned earlier that the dark side is clouding their vision. This is also Palpatine's doing.
The boy has exceptional skills.
But he still has much to learn, Master.
Somehow, between the last movie and this one, Obi-Wan and the Jedi Council have completely reversed their roles on the idea of Anakin as a Jedi.
Even if that were true, hint, it's not, this scene isn't even showing that. All Mace Windu is saying is that Anakin has shown he is skillful. This does not automatically translate into being a Jedi. Darth Maul is skillful, for example. Does that mean Mace would be implying he's Jedi material too?
Too sure of themselves they are.
Maybe it's that constant fear leads to the dark side tripe you've been preaching this whole time that makes them more confident than they should be.
There is a clear difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence is when you're sure of yourself. Arrogance is when you're full of yourself. Here's an example of the latter.
Let this be known, I am not a...
Are you sure about that?
He's overly critical. He never listens.
Where the f*** did this come from? You were just talking about making sure she's safe, and it turned into a diatribe about how life's unfair to you.
Well, if you didn't cut the scene to shit, you would have seen the segue into this dialogue. Anakin demonstrates he has matured, to which Padme says he's grown. He then says Obi-Wan manages not to see it. It's amazing how you ask questions where the answers are simply a matter of watching the film.
It's not fair.
Padme will not only ignore this childishness, but go on to enter a sexual relationship with this whiny baby.
Hey man, even Donald Trump has managed to have like 16 kids with 3 different women, one of whom he would totally bone if it weren't socially unacceptable.
Please don't look at me like that.
Why not?
Because it feels like you want to f*** me with your lightsaber, you creepy bastard.
Jeremy says
Rose Byrne and Natalie Portman are not my sister wives in this scene.
that sounds awfully Alabaman for a Tennessean.
Don't do anything without first consulting either myself or the council.
Especially f***ing this queen, you hear?
Look at that, ignoring the movie giving context to Anakin's earlier rant. And for what? A joke nobody laughed at?
The official subtitles here say that R2-D2 gave that cook robot raspberries. What the f***?
There is no way you're a grown-ass man and have never come across the phrase blowing raspberries. That's like thinking someone means actual soup when they say soup's on.
Or be with the people that I love.
You do not love her yet. You haven't even seen her in 10 years. You have a boner. That's it. How does Jedi training not include sex ed?
This precludes the possibility of Anakin having fallen in love with her in Episode 1. Not to mention he's been spending time with her now, recently. Not to not mention you also said boner.
Because someone erased it from the archive memory.
Oh, come on. So let me get this straight. Just on the off chance someone was looking for this planet for whatever reason, someone decided to erase it from the archives.
This is incredible. You're literally asking why someone who is attempting to pull the biggest coup in the galaxy would want to cover their tracks. Are you fucking stupid?
Also, they removed the planet, but they didn't remove anything else that might help someone locate it? That gives you, like, the opposite effect of what you're trying to accomplish, right? You might as well put a neon sign there that said planet removed for incriminating purposes.
Which is an interesting position to take considering you just said this.
And why would anyone be looking for this planet? Except when someone finds a rare poison dart that only the chef at a diner could recognize.
So which is it? Is Camino absurdly difficult to find, or is it absurdly easy to find? You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth, Hillary Clinton.
Apparently R2 navigates stairs one by one, very slowly, but can catch up to them no problem even though they never stop.
It's almost like R2 is on wheels.
I heard they even tried to amend the Constitution so you could stay in office.
She was a queen, though, right? Not an elected official. Or does this planet just elect people and call them queens?
Yes.
The day we stop believing democracy can work is the day we lose it.
Let's pray that day never comes.
You have a queen in this world, right? Isn't that a monarchy? Or are you like the British monarchy where you have a queen but she has no power?
I could go on a long soliloquy explaining what I already explained in sin number 5, but I think it's funnier to point out CinemaSins literally thinks Naboo's queens are queens of the entire galaxy.
There it is, R4.
Yep, the planet we've probably seen for many, many parsecs because it is a huge celestial body in space. I am just now acknowledging that I see it.
Yet another obvious scene manipulation. Obi-Wan has only just come out of hyperspace. He did not see Camino until right before he said this line. I don't get it. This movie is ass. You don't have to make things up to shit on it. That's like making up reasons why Nickelback sucks when their discography is right there.
You will be delighted to hear that we are on schedule.
All these people need to know is that Obi-Wan is a Jedi, and they just blab the whole evil plan to him before making sure it's okay to tell him.
Because the order for the clones was from the Jedi. Dude, keep up.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Never a more eloquent word was spoken in order to woo a fine woman.
Sinning this line.
We take great pride in our combat education and training programs.
But we don't spend much time on aiming practice.
Jeremy, along with a lot of other normies, thinks the clone troopers are stormtroopers.
Actually, the first generation of stormtroopers.
No one apparently told Django that a Jedi was coming, because he left his incriminating in the closet completely out in the open for anyone to see.
Lord Bert Patine, if the movie has spent a considerable amount of time explaining Camino had been annexed from the records, why does Jeremy pretend Django would assume the Jedi tailing him would show up here?
The mind of an idiot is a perplexing thing indeed, Penguin. It's like a writer thinking a protagonist assuming the name of someone they barely have any connection to is something that should exist. Absolute bantha fodder.
They'll do their job well.
A whole army of Django Fetts, and somehow the bad guys are going to lose this thing.
It's almost like the bad guys actually win and dominate the galaxy for 24 years. Something something double dipping, something something. This should have been one video.
Dad! Look!
Whoa, what the hell is going on? How did we get here? Obi-Wan fist fights with this dude instead of force choking him or force pushing him or any of the other non-hand-to-hand force attacks.
I let two sins play to demonstrate something I've always said about CinemaSins. They will sometimes say something completely random about an innocuous scene in order to segue into a scene they actually have a problem with. Seriously, the only reason they included the first one was so them sending the fight scene here wouldn't seem out of place.
Ah, yes, of course. I remembered to bring my throwable homing beacon that instantly sticks to anything I throw it towards.
In CinemaSins land, they don't have magnets.
Get him, Dad! Get him! Fire!
Boba Fett, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Boba Fett, my guy. I know you're from Tennessee and all, but not everyone is named Bubba.
Owen Laws. This is my girlfriend, Beru.
Let me get this straight. The powers that be decided that Luke would someday come to live here, even though Anakin met Owen and Beru? You didn't think that would be a huge risk?
It's almost like nobody knows they're here.
Not that I'm complaining, but Padme decided to wear the super hot ab-bearing outfit to go meet Annie's mom.
2015. Back when the guy who would become known for virtue signaling tried to police what women wore.
This movie doesn't earn the dark side transformation of Anakin. He was a whiny kid for most of this movie, and now he massacres a bunch of Tuskens. Had someone been here to stop him, and that need for revenge festered in his heart, the next time would be a good time for a massacre. Most of everything we know about Anakin was talked about, not shown, and this comes off as rushed.
It's almost like it takes a whole nother movie to earn the dark side transformation.
Why'd she have to die?
She probably didn't, but you left her alone here as a slave on this planet to pursue your own Jedi goals. What did you think was going to happen to her? Happily ever after?
Well, if you paid attention to the previous movie, you'd have your answer.
I will come back and free you, Mom. I promise.
And not just the men, but the women and the children, too.
Anakin can somehow tell Tusken women and children from the men. I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
Well, that's kind of easy when they look like this.
Carrying a message from an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Master Annie, does that name mean anything to you?
I wonder if he means old Ben.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
Hey there, Star Wars fan. FYI, R2-D2 can fly. You.
Yep, this part of the film has always been rank bullshit. It's ironic to me that all the people that hate the sequel trilogy conveniently missed this retcon but have a problem with the "they fly now" scene. They fly now?
I'm so confused.
Maybe that explains why you aren't funny anymore.
Irony.
Movie is an asshole. That is the very definition of cheating in filmmaking, you f***er. This is equivalent to telling your mother you have terminal cancer, and then when she starts sobbing, you trash talk about how you pranked her and how stupid she is.
You mad, bro?
I truly, deeply love you.
George Lucas thinks people talk this way.
Lucas's only sin here is thinking women talk this way. Men are the ones that say this. Just ask any woman who has received a Facebook message from a random Indian guy.
This creature basically didn't want to kill Amidala. Just make her sexier.
It says a lot about a person that thinks wounding someone makes them sexier.
This thing is terrible at thinking.
Alright, I laughed.
Star Wars finally gives us a nerdgasm scene with dozens of Jedi and lightsabers all at once, and I'd take a sin or two off if I hadn't had to sit through 2 movies of mostly boring bullshit to finally get this.
Jeremy sends something he likes cliche.
The Death Star is apparently fully operational in like 20 years. They must have had 1 million contractors working 24/7 on that thing.
The Great Pyramid at Giza only took about 20 years to build, and they didn't have the advanced technology of the Empire. Only slaves and spit.
You're gonna pay for all the Jedi that you killed today, Dooku.
Saying things.
Make fun of CinemaSins without making fun of CinemaSins.
Electricity, curiously a trait only dark side force users have.
Do you even hear yourself? Dark Side Force User. If there is a such thing as a side, surely that side will have abilities exclusive to them. Otherwise, the f***'s the point of a side?
Let's talk about Palpatine's plan.
Let's not.